Welcome to WAKO Kickboxing Talks, the podcast where we bring you the most exciting and informative discussions in the world of kickboxing. My name is Everill. I'm from England. I'm a 14 times WAKO World Champion and a 7-time WAKO European Champion.
My name is Angelina. I'm a psychologist, psychotherapist and a kickboxing referee.
My name is Paulina Yardsnick. I'm a 5 times world and 3 times European champion in kickboxing.
My name is Jake Riddell. I am from Dublin in Ireland. I am a graduate of the recent Game Changer program. Kickboxing has always been such a huge part of my life since starting it as a young boy. I'm really excited about this project and I look forward to speaking to you all. Whether you're a professional or just starting out, our show offers valuable insights and inspiration to take your skills to the next level.
Hosted by the WAKO Game Changers, we will be chatting with experts, athletes and coaches from the world of kickboxing to get their unique perspectives on everything from training tips to mental preparation.
So get ready to join the conversation and explore the exciting world of kickboxing with WAKO Kickboxing Talks.
Hi guys, we're back with another episode of WAKO Kickboxing Talks. I'm Everill and I'm here with my good friend and fellow game changer, Angelina Pelevic. How you doing today, Angelina? You okay?
Yeah, hi Elijah. Hi guys, I'm great and I'm happy to be talking with you today about the mental preparation of an athlete before the championships, before fights.
We're going to get into lots of detail about how athletes should prepare mentally, the things that you go through. Obviously, this is a big thing, especially with kids. I think, obviously, when you're an adult, if you've been doing it for a long time, you find ways of preparing yourself mentally, and you know what works best. But for beginners or for kids, this can be a very big struggle. So hopefully, we can share some advice with you today that's going to help, that you can take into the rest of the tournament season when it resumes. So
Definitely.
looking forward to it.
Yeah. So
Angelina, you start us off. I mean, what do you think, obviously, from your experience? Tell us some of your ideas of what works well for you and obviously what you would tell the audience.
So I actually have prepared some questions for you as an athlete to see how do you prepare mentally before the fights. And
Perfect.
From my perspective of a psychologist, I've figured that this is an important topic, as you said, especially for the kids who are just only starting competing. And I think mental preparation is equally important as physical one. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I think they go hand in hand, don't they? I think you have to prepare. Obviously, being in the best physical shape possible is important for an athlete. You know, you have to do the everyday training. You have to make sure that your diet is good. You have to make sure you have the right recovery as well. All of these things are very important physically, but you know, the mental side often gets neglected, and both of these go hand in hand. I think if your mind isn't right, then you can't train to your full potential, which means you're not going to get the best out of your physical self. And it's the same thing when you go into a competition. You know, you can be in the best shape, but if you don't have the right mentality, or you don't have that self-belief, that inner fire and that motivation to win, then it's not going to happen. You can be as fit or as fast or as strong as you like, but if you don't have it up here, this is the best muscle. If you don't have it up here, then it's not going to go well. So you need to make sure that we train both and not just one or the other.
Exactly. I would agree 100%. And also, I think it's important that athletes take care of themselves mentally continuously, not just before the fight. Because when you do that continuously, when you do that like in a daily basis, when you're training, then you have the chance to get familiar with all the techniques on how to fight stressful situations and the anxiety before the fight, before the competition.
Absolutely. I think one of the things I like to do as well is try to make everything as real as possible. So all of the feelings that you feel in a competition, I mean, it's very hard to emulate that. You can do as many rounds of sparring as you want, but going into a competition always has a different feeling. So what I try and do, I do this myself, and I always do this with my students as well. When we go to a big competition, we treat the training like it's a real fight. So I will make them warm up. Before we do sparring, I will make them do a set warm up, the same one that they will do in the competition. They can have 5-10 minutes. They can do whatever they want. They can listen to music. They can do their own stretching. They can do their own warm-ups. Once they finish doing that, then I will call them to the area and they will fight against their opponent. They don't talk to their opponent, nothing. Okay. As soon as they come into the gym, we treat it like it's a competition. I'll call them up. I even put the live stream from WAKO Live. I put the European Championship, wherever we're going, World Championships, European Championships. I'll put the live stream on the speaker so they can hear the noises, like of the
Amazing.
crowd and everything. Yeah. So we try and make it as real as possible. So they hear the horns, the vuvuzelas, they hear people cheering, they hear different, all different sounds that they're going to hear when they go to the competition. So we make everything as real as possible. Just even the background noise. Sometimes
Yeah.
it can throw people off, So if we train it like that, then they're going to be more comfortable when they get there in the competition. It's just one of those things I like to do to try and make it real.
You actually put them in that mindset of a competition right there. That's
Absolutely,
amazing. That's a
absolutely.
great strategy. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just the little details. These are the things that make the difference. Because in our any sport, top level, it's going to be those minor details that will make the difference in the end. Everybody's good at this level. So it's going to be those little things that you might do that someone else hasn't thought of or isn't doing that could get you a win.
hmm hmm Do you have maybe any rituals or some kind of superstitions before entering a fight?
Not really any superstitions as such, but I have my routine that I'll go through. So I always will do a set warm up. I like to do a lot of footwork. So like one of the key things for me, like I know my strength is my movement. So I always do a lot of movement in the warm up, things that I will actually do during the fight. And I'll repeat those movements again and again and again. And then after I'm warm, maybe after 10 minutes, then I'll get my gloves on, we'll do a few techniques, some stretching. I'll talk with my coaches, make sure that I've got a good game plan ready to go into the fight with the opponent that I'm going to be fighting against.
hmm
And when it comes to actually being on the mat, I usually do my trigger. So this is where this is something I wanted to really talk about today as well, is people have to understand is the person that goes onto the tatami or into the ring cannot be the same person on the outside. That's
hmm
very, very important. So I think you have to almost change your whole persona.
You have to
So
leave
I have,
everything behind, right?
yeah,
Mm.
like I have Elijah off the mat, who, I always try and be nice guy. I try to be respectful to everybody, when I go onto the mat, then I'm there for business and that's it. I'm just trying to win. I'm doing my 100% focus is on my opponent and on winning. That's it. So
Mhm.
you need to do that. It's very difficult, and you almost have to train that way to make that switch. It's not something that just happens. So over time, obviously, I've practiced this, and now I'm very good at it. But I can go in and out of that zone. I can turn that switch on and off quite
Mhm.
easily. But for others, it takes time, it takes practice, and an awful lot of experience as well. So,
Mhm.
you need to be doing this in competition all the time and in training. It's another thing I make my guys do is when they train, they have to make that switch. When they start sparring, they have to make that switch. But what I do is I'll do usually do my laps up and down on the mat. So I'll get into a good walking pace up and down. And then whoever my coach is, usually it will be my dad. He's the one who knows the trigger the best. But I usually it's very simple. I'll bash my hands down, I'll bash them up, and then we'll go forward. And then when I turn to face my opponent, that's the last part of me going away. And what I'll do is I'll bring my hands right behind my head, my arms right behind my head, and I take a deep breath and I just channel all of the energy inside. I try and use that energy in the fight. It's just my last thing. And also when I'm doing that, it's an intimidating thing to do. Like I make myself look really big. When I bring my arms behind my head, I'm just trying to intimidate my opponent. I look them straight in the eyes, bring my hands up behind my head, make myself as big as possible, and then I'm ready to go. And that's it then. I don't think about
Mhm.
anything else. It's just I'm in the moment. I'm fighting this person for the next, whatever it is, 4 minutes, 6 minutes that I'm going to be fighting against this guy. That's all I'm thinking about. So
Mm.
that's why I definitely say it. I've taken this from a lot of other top champions, top athletes in different sports. Kobe Bryant was a great one. He had the Mamba Mamba mentality, the black Mamba, he would turn into the black Mamba. It's the same thing, but you just have to create your own thing that you can do that gets you in that right frame of mind. Whether you create an alter ego or whatever, that's up to you. But I think it's very useful to do that, and it helps you to focus on the task at hand.
Mhm. That's very, very interesting. How do you stick with that focus? How do you stick with that persona when you're fighting? Has it ever happened to you that you fell out of the character?
I think it can happen, but you know, for me, it's once that switch happens, it's like there's no going back until the fight's over. I find it very easy to focus then. You know, once I'm in that, the hardest thing is getting into that. But then once you're in it, it's like, okay, now I'm fully locked in. I'm ready to go. I know. Yeah, you're just in that moment, and once you're in it, it's hard to get out of it. But again, I think it comes with practice. You have to train that focus all the time. You know, like you might start getting tired. You know, your body's feeling fatigued. All these things, but this comes from the training as well. If you train that way, you're fatigued, your body's tired, but then you're still able to think, you're still able to stay in the moment and still stay focused. That's the goal.
Yeah.
One of the guys that I really admire is Vasyl Lomachenko. He's a Ukrainian boxer, amazing talent, right? But I always looked at his methods with training. And one of the things his dad used to make him do is he would do his pad work or he would do his bag work, sparring, whatever. And he'd leave the ring. And after he leaves the ring, he would be doing like puzzles, like he'd be solving maths questions and things like that. And the idea behind it was that in the rest time, he would still be thinking. He's not ever switching off. He's never out of the zone. Like, even though he's not actively punching or he's not actively training, he's still working his mind. He's still having
It's
to
training
solve
the
a puzzle.
mindset. Yeah.
Yeah, he's still having to solve a puzzle. So things like I sometimes do that myself as well, where I'll be like training and then, you know, I'll have to do a puzzle. And then we go back to training. Then I do a puzzle and I go back to training, just so the mind is always staying active. Is one of the things that I found very interesting from listening to him and his dad and how they train. So yeah, really good.
Amazing. Yeah. Yeah. That really sounds like a great strategy to stay in the mindset, to train the mindset, to be there all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever experienced like a mental block during a fight? How did you overcome it if you have?
Yeah, I think, you know, really like mental block. I wouldn't call it a mental block, but there's definitely things that can interfere with the fight. So, you know, there can be things that can aggravate you. Like maybe, you know, for me in point fight, maybe there was a moment where I scored a point, but the referee didn't see it, or maybe a point went the other way and it should have been my point. These things can aggravate you during the fight. So what I try to do is I try to stay in the present moment, right? And try to not let those things get the better of you. That's really the only times where I would like maybe slip out of focus. But yeah, I try and control moments of the match as well. This is another thing. Like, you know, when during the fight, maybe you start to feel the momentum shift and maybe things aren't going your way and the other guys maybe got a couple of points or something. And then what usually happens is if somebody has a lead on you and you're trying to get it back, then you usually start to make more mistakes then. You know, like the desperation sets in, you start to get sloppy, you start to make mistakes that you wouldn't make, right? If the score was 0-0. So what I try to do is rather than thinking of the entire match, like thinking of the entire fight, and in my mind, I'd be like, let's say it was 5-0. The score's 5-0. I've only got 2 minutes left. I have to go forward. I have to go forward. I have to try and get it back. I don't think like that. Well, I tried to think like, obviously you have to be aware of the time, but what I try to think of is breaking the match down into as small segments as possible. So rather than thinking of the fight, I think of the first 1 point, right? All I have to do is make 1 point, and I have to do that more times than my opponent during the match. That's it. So if you break it down like that, it's a lot easier to not get frustrated, to not start making mistakes, because you're not desperate anymore. If it's just the first in your mind, if it's just the first person to score 1 point, that means we're equal. So I just fight like the score is equal all the way through. And I always end up winning by 10 points a lot of the time. And this is the reason, because it doesn't matter whether I'm like, it can work both ways when you're losing the match or when you're winning the match. Don't think about the score. Think about the next point. So if I was losing by 5, okay, I get the next point. Then it's 5-1. Okay, then I get the next point. Then it's 5-2. So you just creep back into the game. If it's the other way around and you're winning the fight, what can happen? Sometimes you get complacent, right? Oh, I'm winning by 5. I could take it easy. No. Then you have to think about the next point, right? Then it's 6. Then, okay, finish. Think about the next point. Then it's 7. Finish. Back to the beginning. Think about the next one. And that's how you win by 10 points, right? But people always get to like, oh, it's 7-1. It's 8-1, 9-1. But they never really finish the fight. They don't get the 10-point spread because they're being complacent.
They
Or the other
demotivate
guy starts
themselves.
to creep back in. Exactly, right? But if you just cut all of that out, don't think about the match, think about scoring the next point. That's what I always try to do myself. And then I try to get that over to my students as well. It's like, if you're losing a fight, don't worry, don't get stressed. Try not to rush too much. Just score the next point. Anybody can win a fight to 1 point. You know, you can get lucky, you know, you can beat anybody to 1 point, right? But if you do that over and over and over again and just control the moments within the match, then you're going to be in a lot better position than if you were just rushing. Yeah. And you had the mindset that you were down, then you have to rush and you have to make mistakes then, and you end up losing by a lot more than you would. So that's one of the tactics I use.
I like that very much. It's like focus on the present moment, focus on the next step by step, and not focus on the whole fight. Yeah, exactly. The other way around, you would just make a lot of pressure. Yeah. How do you deal with pressure when you feel pressured by the coach, by the audience, by your own expectations? How do you deal with that?
The pressure, when I'm under pressure, that's when I fight my best. That's when I really fight my best, because people have to understand that pressure is a privilege. It's there to make you better. It's not something to shy away from, right? When if it's a moment where there's pressure, that means it's important, right? So why not go and make yourself the hero? I've had many times, like during my fighting career, where especially in like team events, for example, team events is always pressure because it's not just yourself. If you lose, then, you know, you're letting down your teammates, you're letting down the coaches. If it's a national team, you're letting down the national team. You know, it's hard. But there's many times where I've been in that position and I'm always the last one to go. And I always tell people, I'm going to be the last one to go. I don't care who it is. I'll be the last one up because I want to be the hero. I want to be the person that goes in there and, you know, I get the glory. People always think about the pressure being a negative, whereas where I see opportunity, you know, why not make yourself the hero? Like, you ask people, like, do you want to go last? You want to go last in the team event? And they'll be like, no, or they hesitate, or they're like, no, I'm not really comfortable with that. That's because they're already thinking about what happens if you lose. They're already thinking about, okay, if I lose, that's going to come down on me. I have to live with that if I lose. I'm going to let my teammates down. I'm going to let my coaches down. I'm going to be the person that lost it for the team.
Yeah.
But the minute that starts to creep into your head, you're already lost. So I always think about opportunity, right? It is your opportunity when in those moments, those big moments, whether it be an open weight final, grand champion, whether it be a team event, something where there's a lot of pressure, then that's an opportunity for you to make your name. That's what all of the greats perform under pressure. You know, the names that you all know have all been in those moments and they've all won in those moments, right?
Because they don't made pressure their friend.
Yeah.
Not an
exactly,
enemy. Yeah.
Exactly. Look at it like you are there for that moment. That is a privilege to be in that moment, to have that opportunity to go and win it for your team. You know what I mean? That's how I see it. And I think I get excited by those moments. I don't shy away from them. So when you start thinking of it like that in a positive mindset, then it becomes totally different. Then you go out there and enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I always do. I go out there and enjoy myself, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to make myself a hero.
Amazing. That's like a winner's attitude, winner's mindset.
Yeah, that's it. But it all comes from in here. It's just self-belief, confidence, and just going for it. These are the moments that you train your whole life for. So why not get the most out of it?
Exactly.
Just how I see.
How do you handle setbacks or losses?
Yeah, losses are always tough to take, aren't they? But I hate losing more than anybody. I'm not gonna not gonna hide that. I absolutely despise losing, but that is the reason why I win, because I despise losing so much. That's why I win most of the time. I absolutely hate that feeling, and I will do whatever I have to do to not have that happen to me many times.
Okay.
So, I work extremely hard day to day with my training, and I try to make sure that doesn't happen. If I ever do lose, usually what I say is I've got one day to be sad about it, be one day to, be down, and we always call it sicking it out. It's like, you have like a sickness bug and you throw up and you get it out of you, right? And then you feel fine. That's the same mentality I have with losing. Like, you have a day, sick it out, right? And then the next day we get back to work, we go to train, we look at the things that we did wrong and we try to fix them. So I think watching back the fights is a huge thing, like doing an analysis, really studying the game. I think that's important. Obviously, you need to do this for yourself. Like, what did you do wrong? You have to be self-critical. What did you do wrong? What did you do well? And then also you need to train for that opponent the next time. So when you face that opponent again, you know what they were trying to do. You know the game plan that they were trying to use. You saw the techniques that hit you. You know how to defend against them the next time. So going back, watching the fights, and then creating drills or scenarios where those things are going to be implemented is very important as well. So that's what I try and do. I'm the worst person to be around when I've lost. I want to be. I'm not very, not very. I don't take it very well. But then once I've sicked it out, then I'm just back to work and I'm just ready to go again the next time.
Yeah. Can you maybe describe us a specific situation where your mental strength played a crucial role in a competition, in a fight?
Definitely. A few areas, a few things come to mind, but I'd say the biggest one that I ever had was I was a junior, and I was fighting in the European Championships in Spain. It's 2015, I think. And I did 3 categories, which at the time was rare. Like, not many people were doing point fight, light contact, kick light. I was doing all of them. I put myself in point fight, light contact, kick light. And I remember I had my first point fight, and it was against one of the best people in the category in the first round. So already that was a tough fight for me to try and get through. But what happened in the third round is I threw a side kick and my opponent came onto me at the same time, and it bent my ankle back and actually snapped my ankle, actually broke my ankle. I didn't realize it at the time because obviously the adrenaline is there and, I was in pain, but I didn't think it was anything serious. And I ended up winning the fight. It was very close, but I ended up winning the fight. And then I remember hobbling around. I wouldn't say walking around. I was hobbling around. My dad was carrying me as well. We went back to the hotel. I tried to ice it and everything and rest. I woke up the next day and it was black. It was just completely black and blue and swollen. And my dad just took one look at it and he was like, "Elijah, come on, it's not a good idea to keep going. It's just not our year this year. These things happen. We'll rest up. We'll come back next time." And as I remember really clearly saying to my dad, I was like, "Dad, that's what everybody wants me to do. Everybody wants me to quit now. Everybody wants me to say, oh, well, it didn't happen for me. My ankle's broken." It's an easy way out, isn't it? It's an easy way out. I could have said my ankle's broken. No one would have said anything. It's a broken ankle. I couldn't even walk.
Exactly.
No one would have been like, "Elijah, come on," no one would have said anything. But for me, deep down, like I wanted still to compete for it. I was there still to win. I still believed I could win on one leg. Okay, I had that self-belief and that inner drive that I don't care if I'm on one leg, I'll still beat you. And not only that, but I even said to my dad this as well. I said, I want the other person to actually beat me. Like if they beat me with a broken ankle, fair enough, right? That's fine. I'll move on. But I actually want them to fight me for this. They're not just going to have a walkover. They're not just going to turn up and have their hand raised by the referee. They still have to work for it. Whether I'm on one leg or two legs, he's still going to have to turn up and see me today. He's still going to have to fight me today. And, I ended up with I lost one of my points fights, but still went in there and fought. Lost in the final of the kick lives, a very close fight. I lost, but I got to the finals. And
You went there, yeah.
The live contact I won the gold medal with a broken ankle. So,
amazing.
I had 13 fights after breaking my ankle, 3 2-minute rounds, and still managed to come away with a gold medal. So that was definitely a time where like mental toughness, I was having to kick with it. There was moments where in kick light, people were kicking up at my legs and, my ankle was broken. I couldn't move it.
Yeah.
I couldn't blitz. I couldn't move around. I couldn't really do anything. But what kept me in it was my heart and my mind. And they're the two things. It doesn't matter what's happened to your body. You can control what's in there. So that was it. That was where my mental strength came in. I really had to dig deep. But yeah, it was a tough week. But I'm glad that I did what I did. And I'm glad that I did what I did and I didn't quit, because now looking back on it, I can say that I overcame that. I could have took the easy way out, but I didn't. So
that's an impressive story, really. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Some people would say I'm just crazy, but
but mental strength played a huge role, a crucial role in that situation.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Amazing. This was a great talk, honestly. A lot
awesome.
of great techniques and strategies that you shared today. I think that will
Brilliant.
be very useful. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Hopefully this gets across to everybody well. I'm hoping that this can help inspire some of the kids and also adults as well, because this is a big thing that people struggle with, even at the highest level. Getting the mind right can be difficult, but I think by listening to different people's experiences, like I know for me, listening to other people that inspire me, top level athletes, one thing they all have in common is the mind. Yeah, all have that in common. They have and the work ethic. And you put those two together and that makes a recipe for success. So my advice would be just keep listening to those inspirational people. It might be someone within your sport. It might be someone that's totally outside of your sport, but I think it's important to take inspiration from those people and try and add those things to your life and your sport career, because those people are there. They're at the top for a reason. So these are proven methods that work. So just go out and give them a try and see what works for you.
Yeah. Thank you, Elijah, for sharing all this today.
Yeah. Thanks, Angela. It's been really cool. And hopefully we get to do another one together soon.
Yeah, for sure. We'll be back for more.
Awesome. All right, guys. See you soon.
See you soon.